The church in Chile is growing. It has had a hard time because many people were baptized years ago that should never have been. And so they have a 10% active rate in all of Chile. You'll be out on the streets contacting and tracting and, meet less actives every single day. I probably met 2 or 3 in every day worth of contacts that I did. The leaders are progressing. They're learning. The missionaries are helping with that. But really our role as missionaries in Chile is to make sure that people come unto Christ, having faith, repenting, baptism, receiving the Holy Ghost, and enduring to the end. And it's not just baptism, it's all 5. And now with this whole work of salvation thing, it's not just that. It's temple work, it's family history, it's member missionary work, it's teaching of the gospel, it's everything all combined. Not just focusing on one step, but rather looking at the whole picture so that the church can truly be built up and edified. I remember Elder Evans of the Departamento Misional. What is that? The mission department. He came and spoke to us about that, about how we need to build up the church, not just be baptizing 8-year-old children that think we're cool. That's not acceptable. It's time to baptize men that can hold the priesthood and be bishops and take their wives to the temple. Young men that can serve missions, young sisters that can be Relief Society presidents, do things right. Chileans, they'll even admit this, they can be really kind of lazy and they get fired up really easily too. And they will I can say that because they'll freely admit it, they know it. So just don't give up if they're being lazy and don't want to wake up in the morning. Just stick it to them, just keep on going. But also it's really important that you be as courteous and loving as you can, because they get very offended, and that's probably the main problem with inactivity in the church in Chile, is just people getting offended over what missionaries say or what leaders say or anything else. So you just not be afraid of them, but just love them and treat them with the respect that they deserve as children of God.